Hard to believe. All this started with a carrot cake. So when I found that old recipe, when we were clearing out Mum's place, you remember, you told me to throw away those old books, but that slip of paper fell out. Mum used to make that cake for everything. Birthdays, anniversaries, even funerals later, towards the end. It's a shame we didn't find it in time for hers. Just seeing that handwritten page brought back so many memories. I bet she hadn't looked at it in years. She knew it all by heart by then. But to me it was like finding the lost city of Atlantis. And just think, if it hadn't have fallen out when it did, none of this would have happened. And I know you wanted to make that first cake for me, Sandra, so I could get it out of my system and we could move on with our lives. But it was too important for that. I had to do it. And I know I burnt it. And you were furious at the mess that I'd made in the kitchen. But to me it was magic. I had made something from scratch. I can't remember the last time that I did that. So I made another and another and another one. You were so sick of cake by that point. I just couldn't stop. Each one kept getting better. But there was still something missing. I couldn't figure it out. They were good. They just weren't perfect. So growing our own carrots was the next logical step. You have to see that now, don't you? I was getting the hang of things by then. And when we pulled out that first slightly misshapen piece of orange gold from the garden, it tasted so good. All homemade, all organic. I mean, you can argue with that. I mean, that was your buzzword at the time, wasn't it? Denise was always going on about, oh, organic this and oh, organic that. So it was only natural we grew more vegetables. Potatoes, peas, cabbages. Or rather I started growing them. You wouldn't help with that. You wouldn't want to get your hands dirty now, would you, Sandra? You kept saying that the garden was taking over. But it wasn't. The more I grew, the more I wanted to grow. What was the point in buying all those expensive vegetables from the supermarket when I could grow them myself for a fraction of the cost? It was easy once I figured it out. It's amazing how much produce you can get from a small garden. You just organise it properly. Of course, we were limited to what was in season, but that wasn't such a hardship. It's not to me, anyway. I heard the taunts. You and your little friends thought you were so clever. Oh no, I wasn't losing it. I was finally seeing things clearly. So what if you thought I wanted to live the good life, like that old sitcom from the 70s? Well, what was wrong with that? If anything, your joking spurred me on. If Tom and Barbara could leave the rat race behind them and go self-sufficient, well then maybe I could too. Not all at first. We'd still need to work and we'd need to find someone with a bigger garden so I could expand. But it all started to seem not so far-fetched the more I thought about it. It took you so long to come round to the idea. You actually liked our old house. I know it was a big step moving, but we both needed more space. In the end, I think it was the idea of a bigger house, one that you could entertain in rather than the garden, that finally swung it. And I think we both knew it was the one when we finally found this place. I saw your eyes light up at that big open plan living room. And when I saw that, albeit overgrown garden, I started planning where things could go. You still thought I was crazy though. I know you did. There's no point denying it now. Fruit came next. Then I started making my own jams to sell. And that proved to be quite the fruitful venture, no pun intended. I would have tried my hand at wine making too, but I don't think you'd have drunk it. I know it still irked you that I didn't have a proper job. I didn't need one though. We were saving so much money on produce at that point. Plus, I knew I could always make a few extra quid selling surplus to the neighbours. We were doing okay, at least I thought we were. Next came the chickens. And you were so up in arms about them. Even though you'd never even been near them, and you had no problem eating their eggs. I used to love watching them peck around, and you can't beat a fresh egg. Plus they were useful. Let them run around the empty parts of the garden after I'd harvested, turning over the soil and eating the weeds. They earned their keep all right. I made sure never to tell you when I killed one for Sunday dinner though. Is it free range and organic, you'd ask? Like you cared if it had a happy life and not just about point scoring with any of your posh friends. Of course it is, I would reply. Well, I never lied, did I? They ate feed I grew myself. They got to run around the garden. They were happy. Not that you cared, I did, but you never seemed to. I don't think you'd have even noticed if they'd all just disappeared. It would have been nice to get the cow. I know you said we didn't have room, but I worked it out. We could have had one. Then we would have had fresh milk and cheese too. We had a name picked out and everything. With artificial insemination nowadays, we wouldn't have even had to take her to see a bull. But no, that was too much. That was a step too far for you. A cow apparently crosses that imaginary line between eccentric, which is fine, all the best people are, and downright crazy, which you just can't explain away. It wasn't me who was the problem though, was it? And you promised to love me till death do us part, and I you. Only one of us meant it though, I guess. It's nice to have my own space too. Somewhere where what I did mattered. Plant the seeds, and because of me they grow stronger. I never had kids. Neither of us had time to raise them, but those vegetables needed me. I looked out for them. Sometimes it was hard work to keep them healthy, but it was always worth it though when harvest time came around. I did find an old book that suggested growing your own tobacco too, for personal use, but that seemed like a step too far, even for me. I never stopped loving you. You know that, right? Even when you were being a downright bitch to me. Even when you'd been out drinking with those friends of yours. You were always worse when you'd been out with them. Even when you told me all this had to stop. Even when you threatened to leave me. It's me or the garden, you said. It's me or the garden. I wish I could have shown you how much all this meant to me. But no, I could keep it all over your dead body. You don't have anything to complain about anymore, do you? Besides, you'll make great fertilizer. All organic too.